Right, on the show now we got Ade Adepitan. Welcome to the show. He's a special guest on the Danny Sun syndicated show. It's great to have you on board, my friend. How are we doing today?
I'm all right, Danny. Yourself?
Yes, I'm keeping well, keeping active, and keeping busy during these times. And we are talking today about disabilities. Um, First off, I always say to my guests, how have you found this pandemic? But now this question is more than relevant to ask in this interview. How have you found this pandemic with everything going on in the world?
Um, it's been strange, very, very strange. It's been intense, um, but I've also learned to appreciate just how fortunate I am.
Yeah,
Um, in terms of, I've got a great support from my family and my local community. And I think I really understood that earlier this year when I caught COVID myself.
mm,
I mean, I wasn't ever tested, but all the symptoms pointed towards COVID as the issue that I had. And at that point, myself and my wife, we had to isolate for 2 weeks. And I was just, it was so heartwarming to see how my community rallied round us.
yeah,
My neighbours and the people local to us, they went and got our shopping for us and took care of us. And, same with my friends and family. But I know that there are many people with disabilities out there
yeah.
who weren't fortunate enough to have that sort of support. And I think the pandemic exposed this in the UK,
Yeah.
this issue.
That's great. People come together, and you mentioned disability there. We're talking about disability. There is a new survey out as well. We've got a few statistics we'll be looking at. Kind of an add-on to that previous question. So, what three words kind of describe how you felt during these unprecedented events of 2020?
3 words to
Yeah,
describe. Um, I think shock,
yeah,
definitely, and I kind of think you tend to associate the word shock with something that happens immediately,
yeah,
but I think this was a gradual shock. If anything, it was like every day you were just like, whoa, and as things got deeper and deeper. Um, I'd say,
Was it
well,
difficult in any way with trying to come to terms with what's happening in the world?
difficult. I'd say I was. Stress. It was
Yeah,
stressful. It's definitely
yeah,
stressful in terms of not so much what was happening in the world was definitely a big issue for me. I'm a travel journalist, so suddenly my diary went quiet, and I think the difficulty and the stress happened for me was suddenly seeing so many work commitments just disappear
yeah,
out of the diary, and you suddenly started thinking, well, this is serious. I'm not going to work for the next
yeah,
4 or 5 months. How am I going to live?
yeah.
How am I going to pay the bills and stuff like that? So, that was definitely in there. So I'd say shock, and then I'd say educational.
Yeah,
Because I think we've all had to learn so much about stuff that was probably out of all our comfort zones.
yeah.
All of us are now, you see people talking about R rates and vaccine efficacy and, lockdown rules and all of that stuff that none of us would have mentioned years ago.
Right, thank you. That's perhaps one of the hardest questions to ask someone on the spot, three words, but thank you for finding that out, finding them words for me. And on to the next question. Do you think a majority of people with disability feel overlooked or neglected, kind of left at the back of the queue during this time?
I can't speak for every
Mm,
person with a disability, but I definitely think, the people who I've met, I felt that. I always use the example of some of the people in my wheelchair basketball team, whose main form of social interaction is wheelchair basketball. The training sessions, the basketball matches, the whole community is where they meet their friends and get to have banter and just feel like human beings. Our league has been cancelled. and the games, the training sessions are no longer happening because of all the restrictions. And one of the guys in my team, he told me he didn't speak to anyone or have social interaction for 8 weeks. And during this time, he said, as you do when you have all of this thinking time, he thought, what's it going to be like when the dust settles? Where will I be as a disabled person in this world? Will I be forgotten? I don't hear them in any of the government policies, any of Rishi Sunak's initiatives. I don't hear people with disabilities being included in that. So yeah, I would say, taking it from the people I've met, the disabled people definitely, but we've always felt left behind. Yeah. We've always felt not thought about.
Yeah, well raised. And going on to the next statistic, more than a third of Brits living with a disability have been unable to buy groceries at some stage during the pandemic because they couldn't get to the shops. Nearly half have found it difficult, stressful to use public transport as well.
Yeah, it's brought up a whole, or accentuated a whole number of issues. There'll be many disabled people, and I think this is what affected our league. Is some people with disabilities have they have conditions which mean that it would be deadly for them to catch COVID. A lot of people can survive. I mean, I caught it and I was able to get through it, but many people have had to shield. And so going to the supermarket when there is a deadly virus out there, where, especially if you use a wheelchair or if you're visually impaired, where your hands are touching everything. And we know the main way of catching COVID is from contact and then touching your mouth or your nose or your eyes. And so if you're constantly pushing around or you're visually impaired where you're having to touch things to get your orientation, then it increases the chances of you catching it. So yeah, it's been super, super difficult for people with disabilities.
And you mentioned supermarkets. Have you found yourself or other people having to rely on your groceries, goods, consumables getting delivered to the door at all?
Well, yeah, I think there's been winners and losers of this pandemic, and the definite winners are the delivery businesses. Anyway, if you've got a delivery company, you are a premium right now. Right now, everyone is tapping into you. So yes, I used to go to the supermarket all the time to do my groceries, to buy my shopping, go to my local store, because I like the interaction. I like getting out and about. But once lockdown hit, we were phoning up and getting all these various companies to deliver stuff. And I think that's helped a lot of people with disabilities. In one way, it's made life easier because you have your stuff delivered to you. But conversely, what it's done is it's meant you have less interaction.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that one. A fifth with disability have struggled to maintain a friendship or even a romantic relationship, even family connections as well. There's that part of the survey which mentioned that as well.
Yeah, I think as a society, definitely in the UK, I think we're becoming more and more fractured, and people are becoming more and more isolated, living in either smaller communities or just maybe even on their own. They either, what do they call it? They call it the atomic family now, not even a nuclear family, where people are on their own. And that was before the pandemic. And then when you add lockdown to that, I mean, the chances of you meeting anyone, to have any sort of relationship is even more difficult. And when you have a disability, wow, because one of the things isolation does, and not having that constant interaction, is it beats down on your confidence. And we all know, in order to have a relationship or to meet someone, you need to have that confidence. It's definitely affected people badly in that way.
And you mentioned there's still a stigma attached to having a disability, physical and mental. What can and should be done to address these challenges?
It's a big question. I think education and also what government policies are going to play a big part in it. We need a government that sees sees and values people with disabilities, and are ready to create a society where they feel included. The reason why people with disabilities struggle is because the site isn't built for us. If we're not able to access the transport system or access buildings, then people don't see you. And when people don't see you and you don't see people with disabilities around, then their first interaction with someone with a disability is awkward.
Yeah.
Because well, you're the first one I've seen. And can you blame someone who has a physical disability for not wanting to leave their house if the moment they get out their house there's a 10-foot curb they've got to drop down, loads of stairs to get up on the tube, and buildings with hardly any lifts? Well, yeah, of course you're not going to see us.
Well, Ade, thank you for taking time to speak to me today. One final question. It's on a lighter note. Are you yourself looking forward to 2021? Looking forward to getting back on the basketball courts and spending more time with your family? Is 2021 looking good on the horizon for you?
Yes, Danny. 2021. Everyone has that excitement of a new year. Once January hits, thinking, well, new opportunities. An opportunity to put behind us everything from the year before. And I think everyone wants to put behind us what's happened here in 2020. But January will be extra special for me because me and my wife are expecting our first child, our first baby. So yeah, we're very, very excited about that. Not ready. I don't think we're quite ready for it. We're not totally prepared. But it's going to be amazing to have that opportunity to bring up a baby in 2021.
Well, congratulations to you both, and all the best. This survey was compiled by Smart Energy as well. And would you just like to mention your kind of work you have done with Smart Energy, Ade?
Yeah, well, I think Smart Energy, what they're trying to do is increase the rollout of smart meters around homes all over the UK, and I think it's a really important piece of technology that is actually going to enable people with disabilities and mental health conditions, because 23% of people with a disability and mental health conditions say that they found it difficult to access their meter to send a reading to their energy supplier. And when you have a smart meter installed, you get a handheld display which you have in your home, and you can keep an eye on your energy consumption in real time. You don't have to send your meter readings because your energy supply can get those readings automatically. And these actually handheld meters have been made accessible for people who are visually impaired as well. We work with the RNIB, so they're also voice activated. They can tell you your meter readings as well in that way. So yeah, I think what Smart Energy are doing is really, really important, and it's one less issue that people with disabilities will have to face. They don't know, once you have a smart meter installed, you have less to worry about in terms of, am I going to have to send my meter reading in? Will I be able to control my energy consumption? Because you can look at it there on your handheld display. So I think it's really, really important campaign.
Great to know. Thanks very much again, Ade, for talking about disability and the new smart meters which have come in, which help, with all your meter readings. Perfect.
Thank you. Cheers, Danny.
All the best.